Hi there everyone, and good evening. It is currently the evening of the 7th of September 2011, and actually was planning on skipping doing an update today, but with the development of a new tropical system here, Tropical Storm Kulap, actually drifting slowly off towards the north right now, kind of a midget storm, very small as term to overall size here, at least compared to many of the other tropical systems we see out here in the western Pacific Basin, but this is circular. It does have a closed rotation near the center above 35 knots, and also getting some of those rain flow and those rain bands flowing into the system right now. Thus, it has been deemed a tropical storm by JMA and JTWC. And here, looking at a more zoomed in view, just showing those rain bands forming on the southern periphery, and actually a few of them coming out on the northern periphery. So overall, it is becoming more circular on this, and also starting to see those inflow. There is an area of high pressure off towards the north, so that is suppressing some of the convection on the northern periphery, but overall the outflow aloft is fairly favorable for development. Also noting sea surface temperatures throughout this entire area are above 29 degrees Celsius, so exceptionally favorable for development associated with that. So overall, I'm not expecting a fairly large system here, but this system could develop and increase the typhoon intensity here in the coming days. But right now, as I already noted, though, it is drifting slowly off towards the north, but both JTWC and JMA are both depicting a westerly churn here due to an area of high pressure starting to ridge in over this entire area just off towards the north. And here showing the streamline analysis, the 700 to 850 millibar background flow, it does show this area of high pressure off towards the northeast. You do have a trough up here towards Hokkaido and just over Russia, but this is really what's pulling this off towards the north right now. But once this moves off towards the northeast, both agencies are actually expecting this to retrograde, the high pressure that is, back towards the west, and this is going to put a block on this system tracking any farther north, and really it's going to follow this line right in here, kind of what it's sitting on right now, off towards the Ryuku Islands, because of this wedging in here from the high pressure, basically blocking any northern movement out of this. Model analysis actually picking up on this as shown here, just showing JTWC's track here in black, but they're really matching up with no gaps in GFS, both moving out towards Okinawa in the southern Ryukyu Islands. There's a few outliers, but for the most part, though, the model consensus here is in the southern Ryukyu Islands. Thus, direction on this system really is kind of matched up with the models, but there is a difference with JMA and JTWC in forecasting the strength of this system. And in this case, I am kind of leaning towards more of what JTWC is saying, expecting this to develop into a typhoon status. But just noting GFS here, this model really kind of keeping it weak. They do bring it off towards the northwest, but if you notice, there's not very much of a gradient rate in here, so they kind of keep it at tropical storm status. Yet, given the favorable conditions throughout the area, there is going to be a relatively low amount of wind shear out ahead of the system, with only about 10 knots through this entire area right in here, a little bit higher off towards the north. That's due to the upper level trough here off towards the north as well, but just over the storm and out ahead of where it's expected to go here, you are seeing a relatively low wind shear factor right through here. That coupled with the high sea surface temperatures, the outflow aloft, this does have potential. And also just noting a lot of that rain, those bandings starting to form in here. This is actually a water vapor imagery here in the background. You can kind of also see the banding wrapping around the system. Those all lead to factors for intensification, but just showing JMA's track here for right now, they are bringing it right towards the central Ryukyu Islands, just northeast of Okinawa here. Current intensity though, 35 gusting up to 55 knots on a 10-minute wind average. They do have pressure at 1000 HPA, so a relatively not so shallow system as opposed to any other tropical storms or typhoons, but this is expected to deepen here as it does develop a little bit more so. We do want to switch over to JTWC's forecast track though, and they bring this basically just starting slowly off towards the north and then switching off towards the west as that high pressure ridges in off here towards the northern portion of it, and it kind of bring it straight towards Okinawa as a typhoon. Based on this forecast track, people in Okinawa should already start making preparations for this coming system, but also I do want to highly stress that anywhere here in the Ryukyu Islands and even southern Kyushu should closely watch the system because of the fact of this could churn west at any portion of time over the next 24 hours, just basing on the fact of how far this area of high pressure is going to retrograde in from the east. If it doesn't retrograde too quickly and that trough if here to the north kind of lingers more, it could swing a little bit farther towards the north and hit some of these northern Ryukyu Islands. If it retrogrades rather quickly, it could just go south of Okinawa. So that's actually where a lot of the models are kind of pointing, is just south of Kadena as noted right in here, or Naha right down in the southern Okinawa as well. So I just do want to highly stress anybody in the Ryuku Islands that is watching this should definitely continue to closely monitor system, but particularly Okinawa, since JMA and JTWC both bring basically tropical storm force winds at least, and with this particular forecast, typhoon strength winds to the island. But as already noted though, these tracks do have a tendency to change, especially with still developing systems, and as you can see in this frame rate in here, this is a newly formed tropical storm, so we're going to continue to closely watch this here at westernpacificweather.com. Also, I do want to note and strongly recommend people to check JMA and JTWC as they put out their forecast. JMA every 3 hours, JTWC every 6 hours. Here at westernpacificweather.com though, we'll likely have another video update tomorrow for you, so just check back in. But for now, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please post them here at the YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube, or at westernpacificweather.com as well. Also posting this at storm2k.org and 28storms.com. Definitely a lot of good information on those websites. So thanks again for listening, everybody, and stay safe and have a great day. Bye.